So I thought I would show you guys how I make a clover or a shamrock. You're gonna need a few things. You'll need some wool. This is roving or top in a green color. I got a dark green, and then I have a little bit of this lighter kind of tealy turquoise green. You'll need about this much for every leaf, and you'll only need a teeny tiny little bit for the lighter shade of green. You'll also need a pipe cleaner. This is a real pipe cleaner, like made for cleaning pipes, and it's got little itty bitty bits of plastic in there, and they are great for felting because they really grab that wool. You're gonna cut your pipe cleaner in half, depending on how long you want your stem to be. So first you'll get your roving of your darker green color, and you're gonna wanna pull it apart in between your palms and your thumbs, just making those fibers shorter. Now I also have different felting needles with me today. This one is a 36 triangle. This one is a 38 spiral. This one is a 38 triangle. And this one is a 40 spiral. It's the smallest of my needles that I'll be using. You want to start with your larger needles because they will compact the felt a little bit better for you. So what you want to do is, once you have this pulled apart pretty good, you're going to fold it in half. So you have a little bit to hold down here, and you're making like a oval kind of shape. Then I'm just going to go in and tack that down just a little bit to kind of make my overall shape. It's kind of like a heart shape. Once I have it down just a little bit, I'm going to take it and flip it over and do the other side. And I'm really just kind of stabbing this straight down into the mat underneath of it. That's why you want to pick it up and move it every once in a while so you don't felt it to the mat. Kind of using my finger to hold that there to make that shape. A little V for the leaf. If you have like a teeny heart cookie cutter, you could also do that. You could just put the wool in there and poke it. You want to kind of concentrate it more on the top though, so you can leave this bottom part unfelted down here. Because we're going to wrap that around the stem later. And you want to keep it nice and loose so it felts. The mat helps so that you're not holding it so you don't poke yourself. And you don't have to have this wool buddy like I do. You could just use a piece of foam. But with the foam, they kind of fall apart after a while. But the wool buddy will leave wool, so you gotta roll that around and get that off in between projects so you don't cross-contaminate your colors. Now that I have that pretty well felted with my larger needle, my 36 triangle, I'm gonna move down to my 38 spiral. This is really pushing the wool a lot further. And now I'm not pushing it all the way through, or at least I'm trying not to. I'm poking it maybe like a quarter of an inch in, because after a while of pushing it all the way through, you're not getting anywhere. You're just pushing it in through one side and then out back through the other. So it takes longer when you push it all the way through over and over to get it smooth. So you want to push it just in, but not all the way through. I'm just going over my shape and tightening everything up. I kind of come around from the sides and pull that wool in to make them more rounded. And you can pick it up and squeeze it and kind of see if it's feeling tight enough or stiff enough. And then you might want to put some finger guards on so you don't stab yourself. And then I'm just going around and squeezing it between my two fingers and poking those edges in just a little bit more. All right, now that I have that pretty well felted, I'm going to grab my lighter green color, and I'm only going to use a very small amount of this. That might even be too much. Let's do about half of that. I'm gonna roll this in my fingers just a little to bring it together, and then fold the ends in. And then roll those together. And then I'm gonna loosely just kind of put that in a half circle right at the bottom of my clover leaf. And then I'm gonna get my 40 spiral needle and just kind of tack it down. I'm lightly poking this because I don't want to push it all the way through, because then I'll lose it. You won't see the color anymore. All right, maybe just a little bit more. Okay, so we are finished with one leaf. Now you have to make 3 more, but make sure you leave this part relatively loose. Okay, so I've got my 3 little clover pieces. Now I need to get my pipe cleaner, or my half a pipe cleaner. Set those over there. And you'll probably need about half as much wool, maybe less, than what you used on the leaves. Once again, you'll pull it apart to shorten your fibers. And then you're gonna wanna stretch it out just to make it longer. Once you have that, you'll just set it aside. And you're gonna take your center leaf, top leaf, and wrap it around the stem. Once you have it wrapped, you're gonna take your spiral 38 and just tack that wool to the pipe cleaner. Do this a few times on one side, then pull it up and flip it over and attach it on the back. Now you're not stabbing straight into the pipe cleaner, you're kind of stabbing along it. Be careful not to stab directly into it because the little metal that's in there will break your needle. Pretty well attached. It'll get more attached when we put the other leaves on. So then you're going to add your next leaf. And then felt it down. And then flip it over. And then you get your third leaf. Just going to stretch this out so it's a little longer. And I'm going behind and back up over the top. And then back around to the back. Right now there's a little bit of a gap, it's a little lower. So I'm just gonna pull it up some and then tack it to the stem a little more right here. All right, now your leaves are attached. Now you can get your piece of wool and start wrapping it around your stem. And then felt it. But I actually made 4 leaves. So I'm gonna add my 4th one. Same process. Go wrap it around, going behind, then back around to the front. And then you have your 4-leaf clover. You can bend your stem a little bit if you have 4 leaves. And then you're gonna start to wrap it. When wrapping it, you want a really skinny end to start, or a really little bit of wool, I should say. Just so it doesn't get super puffy on the stem. You do want it to cover it. And if you still have some white after wrapping it, you can always go back and add a little bit more to cover it up. And when you get to the end, you're going to want to fold some of the fluff over and then wrap around, because the pipe cleaner easily pokes out of the bottom if you don't have enough wool. Well, then you're just going to start tacking it down. I'm still using my 38 spiral for this. Now, once you have your wool pretty well tacked down, you're going to switch to your smallest needle. This is my 40 spiral, and I'm going to get my finger guards on so I don't stab myself. I'm going to hold the stem between my two fingers, and I'm going to stab horizontally along the stem. The smaller the needle, the easier it is for it to grab onto these teeny little fibers on the pipe cleaner without hitting the wire. You could do this with the same needle all the way through, but this is just a little easier and makes it go just a little faster. Just remember to really try to avoid that wire, because the smaller needles break a lot easier. And one tip, when you're holding stuff like this, just be mindful of where your fingers are back behind it, because you could stab through and then you'll hit your finger back behind there. All right. And that's your 4-leaf clover. And I am actually going to just go over the whole thing with my smaller needle, my 40 spiral, to just tighten it up, make it a little stiffer, starting with where I put all that new fiber to wrap these stems around. Oh, I just broke it. That was my last 40 spiral needle. So I am going to use a 40 triangle. It's the same size gauge, but the shape's a little different. Only real difference between a spiral and a triangle needle is that the spirals push the wool a little faster. Now you could move your stem around, reposition it some. You could go and put a clip on the back or a pin or something and wear it as a little brooch. If you want them to look just a little bit more realistic, you can go and put a straight line down the middle, kind of where the channel for the stem would be on the leaf. And you're kind of holding it up just a little on the sides. When you go and stab in the same spot over and over again in a straight line, it creates a little valley or a line. And that just makes it kind of stand up a little bit more. And there you have it, some clovers. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial today. Leave in the comments if you have any questions or would like to see anything else. Thanks for watching.